Welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Report. I'm Jarret Johnson, and this is a special edition of the Gridiron Report. It's what I'm looking for. And I'm going to go over some keys to the game, some things I'll be looking for when Texas Tech takes on TCU, 2:30 p.m. Central Time, Saturday in Fort Worth. The Red Raiders are looking to bounce back after a tough blowout loss to Oklahoma. Now they hit the road after a couple games at home. But, Fort Worth has been a friendly place for Texas Tech. They've won the last two times they played in Fort Worth. But now they go into this game as 9-point underdogs, last I checked. So honestly, not that great of a TCU team. I mean, TCU is coming off, a nice win over Baylor. But, I expected the line to be a little closer than this. So that's a little disconcerting that Tech is 9-point underdogs, playing at TCU. But, to me, this is a winnable game, especially compared to the matchup against Oklahoma. But here are some things I'm going to be looking for on Saturday when these two teams square off. First off, can Texas Tech generate a pass rush on TCU's quarterback, Max Duggan? The thing is that Texas Tech has been they play with a three-man defensive line. Of course, they'll have like an overhanging guy, more, to kind of give a four-man front at times. But, the three-man rush just isn't getting home. I mean, especially in that Oklahoma game when we saw time and time again, the defensive rush was just stymied. There was no rush. Spencer Rattler just got to sit back there and had all day. And while Duggan is certainly no Rattler in terms of arm talent, he has progressed to the point to where he can make you pay, and he will carve Texas Tech secondary up if they don't, affect him, if they don't speed up his process in the pocket. So that, to me, that's a huge key. Can Texas Tech consistently generate a pass rush on Duggan? And I think that remains to be seen. I think not only would it be nice, in my opinion, to see four guys with hands on the ground, which I don't know if that's even possible with how many injuries Texas Tech has had on the defensive front. But if possible, even if you move up like a Rico Jeffers or Brandon Randall, Boyer Randall, move them up there to like a defensive end type position, I think it could make a difference. But if Patterson doesn't want to do that, if he wants to keep that three-man defensive line, and he's going to have to bring pressure, he's going to have to bring extra rushers, and I mean at least one, if you want to call it an extra rusher, but two at times. I think he's going to have to send 5 rushers to hurry up Duggan's, process back there, because the secondary just can't cover anybody. I mean, not only are they not getting any pressure up front, but they're not covering anybody for any extended period of time. So they have to do something. They have to force the issue. And when they actually bring those extra blitzers that I mentioned before, they have to do a better job of disguising it, because quarterbacks are reading it pre-snap pretty easily. So there's a lot of work to be done there. And if Texas Tech can do it, I think it will go a long way towards pulling off the upset. Another thing I'm looking for is they got to get the ground game going again. In Tech's 2 wins, they average 187 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. In the 4 losses, Texas Tech's averaging 127 and just 1 touchdown on the ground. So, I mean, I'm no math whiz, that's for sure, but, I mean, you can see the difference there, that the extra yardage, the extra scores, that has been the difference in those games. And, I think this offensive line has shown at times that it can move the ball on the ground even when everybody knows it's coming. I think you look at Kansas State in the second half, West Virginia in the second half. Those are 2 pretty good defensive fronts, and Tech's offensive line was able to get some movement up front. Now, in a big boost possibly could be if Sir Roger Thompson's able to go more than 1 series. He's been really banged up this season, but he's also shown that he can be a game breaker for you. I mean, all he needs is a little crease, and the guy can take it all the way to the house. So, I mean, really, to me, he's, especially since Keyshawn Carter's been hurt, he's been the most explosive player on your offense. So, hopefully he can come back. But if not, you're going to get Xavier White. Hopefully he can come back at some point too. He's been out of the lineup. If you can get those 2 guys back, great. If not, I like Shadarius Townsend. I think he's a good downhill guy. I like him. He's got some speed to him. And then Taj Brooks has shown he's very capable too, the true freshman. So they have options. I think they can do it. The question is, will they? Because if they do, it'll help out the entire team in so many ways. You can rest your defense. I think it'll set up the play action passing game. TCU has shown. I mean, this is not the classic TCU defense, the stalwart defense. I mean, they're giving up, I believe, 155 yards a game on the ground, which is just like in the middle of the conference. And then they've also given up explosive passing plays. So I think if you're able to run the game or run the ball in this game, I think it's going to set up everything else you want to do, really on all sides of the ball. So I think that's a huge key in my mind. And then, honestly, this is a key. I've said this before. You can say this every game, but after the performance or terrible performance last week in this category, I think it has to be stressed again. The Red Raiders have to do a much better job of taking care of the ball. Not only that, they need to flip the statistic. They were -3 last week against Oklahoma, pretty much ensuring that the Sooners were going to knock them out basically, and they did. But Tech's not really generating turnovers like they did a year ago. And then offensively, I mean, last week they threw 2 interceptions, which you can blame the quarterback, the receiver, whatever. Bottom line is they were popped straight up a can of corn, baseball, infield pop-up, basically is what it looked like, right into Oklahoma DB's hands. So that didn't help, of course. But then they also put the ball on the ground 6 times. Tech was able to recover all but one of them, but you can't do that. I mean, you're not going to win the game. You're not going to beat anybody. You may not even beat Kansas if you play like that. So that was kind of an outlier. They've done a pretty good job of taking care of the ball with Columbia, so I'm expecting it to kind of go back to playing better, sound football and taking care of the football. So we'll see. And if they can be plus in that category, it'll go a long way, again, towards Texas Tech pulling off the upset. And then finally, this is something Joe Yeager, Mighty Joe, on his side of the Red Raiders has mentioned a couple times, but it snowballed last week. I mentioned those interceptions. There was some adversity. And they're really, because Tech got out to a great start. They scored on their first possession, and then they got a 3-and-out on Oklahoma. And then all this adversity struck, and Tech really just never responded. I mean, not until the game was already over. I mean, they were down, I think, 48-7 at the half. Game was over at that point. So that's something, I mean, look, football, a big part of it is overcoming adversity. We've seen Texas Tech do that some this year. I mean, I got to point back to that West Virginia game, of course. Even against Kansas State, I thought they did a good job up until they didn't, until the end of overcoming adversity with Bowman getting hurt and Columbia going in there and just adjusting on the fly like that. So, I think this team is capable, but they have to do it. And there's going to be some adversity this weekend in Fort Worth against TCU, and how they respond, I think, will go a long way towards determining the outcome of the game. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. Obviously, in-state rivals. Big, these guys are not just rivals on the field, but also, on the recruiting trail. So this is a big matchup. Texas Tech really needs this win, but so does TCU. So I think you're going to have 2 desperate teams out there duking it out at the Carter there in Fort Worth. So looking forward to it. With that, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.